Hey there, welcome to Cards by Sandy. I'm Sandy Trower, and today I want to show you how to lay mortar in a brick. Oh, of course not the real thing, but how to take an embossing folder and make it look like there's mortar in that brick. So it's going to get a little messy, but let's get started. The supplies that we're going to be using, of course, is our new Brick Wall Textured Impressions embossing folder. I've got the petite petals and the basic butterfly stamp set. I like both of these. But then again, which sets do I not like? We're going to be using the rhinestones and stamping dimensionals. And the colors of ink that we're going to be using, I just like these colors together, is the soft suede, elegant eggplant, and the old olive. And I'll be using the memento, the tuxedo black. Push those aside a minute. We've got the petite petals coordinating punch that will go with the petite petals. I've got 5 1/4 by 4 crumb cake, and I've also got a scratch sheet of paper. This will be used for the extra flowers that we're going to be popping up on our card. I've got this natural ivory envelope, and for the inside of the card, this is the 5 1/4 by 4, and then the outside of our card, the base, is the soft suede. It's 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. Now, if you miss these dimensions, they're going to be on my website, so you can go over there and get all the details of this card. Now, the first thing that I want to do, I want to work with my brick mortar, but I want to lay down a little bit of the flowers I did on the background. I did some real light flowers and a little bit of the light fern onto the brick. So we're going to do that first. I'm going to move a few of these things out of my way. Now the trick to this is we're going to be stamping on and stamping off, because the first layer I want it a light colored. Now I've got my cleaning pad, so we'll be using it as well. Trying to figure out where to put all this. So the first thing I'm going to take, and I'm just going to stamp off and stamp on. Sometimes I'll go a little bit lighter. And it doesn't really matter where you place it at, just randomly onto your card. Now you could make it a little bit lighter if you wanted to as well. I'm going to do the same thing for my flowers. And I want them very light, so I'm going to go off twice on it. Now once I've done that, I'm going to close my ink up. Don't want to stick my hands inside of it like I usually do. Now the next part is we're going to be working with mortar. Now the one thing, when I'm making this card, I like to go ahead and make several at one time, because you don't want to keep having to get out your big shot and go through this messy technique. So I'll make about 5, 6, 7 cards all at one time. So I'll just have a whole layer of these set down, and I'm just stamping one right after the other. Mass producing, if you want to call it that. So we've done that part, and I'm going to clear off to where we'll have room for our big shot. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the embossing folder. There's 2 sides to the embossing folder, which you can't really tell. But if you rub your hand over it, one side is the brick piece. That's the smooth, and then you've got like the ridges. That's the mortar. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, and we're just going to lay and just tap the ink pad on top of here. Now when we get through, to clean this template up, because next time you pull it out, you don't want to get ink everywhere, I keep baby wipes on hand. Just cheap, go to the Dollar Tree, get you a pack of them. And this is what I'll use to clean this template up whenever we get finished. So now we're on to here. We're going to take And I'm using the soft suede. Now I found, because it's sort of hard, I just open it up to where I can hold on to it a little easier. And I'm not getting ink all over me. And I'm just going to tap and put the ink on there. Now if you found you got ink on the brick, if you don't like it, which I think it gives it a good character, you can just take a sponge and just wipe it off a little bit. Now the next step, I'm not going to put my cardstock in there quite yet. I'm going to bring the Big Shot over. We've got our base down. Now this is a 6x6 embossing folder. You've got to make sure you've got it lined up evenly. If not, you're going to chew off the edges of your embossing folder. Now, what we're going to do, the stamped image, that's the part that I want to have the brick on. But you need to line it up. You don't want your brick sideways on your cardstock. So what I do, I make sure I lay this down first. Then I take my cardstock and I find a brick that's sort of straight. And I just lay down the cardstock. Now try not to move your cardstock. I take, and I forgot. So I'm going to grab it and hold it, put down the first plate. Now you put it down. So I'm holding it in place to where my card's not moving around. Then I'm going to put my second, and I'm holding it to make sure everything is squared off. Then I'll just crank it through. Now like I said, it's going to take you a few times maybe. So you might want to practice that. Now when I open it up, there is my mortar inside there. And you can tell there was a few places where the mortar was, but that's fine. If you really look at a house, they sometimes get mortar on your brick. I'm going to move this aside. And I'm going to use my baby wipe because I'm not going to do a lot. But what you would want to do is, if you're going to make quite a few of these, you do want to clean this side off, because if you put your cardstock somewhere else, it may get ink. And I'm just going to go, since I'm not going to use this, I'm just going to make sure I'm getting inside the groove. So I'm going to set the Big Shot, everything aside. And bring in my inks. Now when I'm stamping, if you've seen in a lot of my videos, I like to stamp everything at one time in the same color. That way I'm not constantly going backwards and forwards. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to use the Old Olive. And I'm going to push that aside there. And you notice I've got scratch piece paper here because I like to stamp off. I don't put the whole vine. But now I want this a little bit stronger, so I'm just going to go through here and add some more vines. It just adds a little bit of character to it. Now you want to make sure you leave room for your saying. Now I also want to stamp just a little bit on the inside of my envelope. And I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. Actually, that was the inside of the cardstock and on the envelope. Make sure you have your envelope right side up. I'm going to clean this, place it aside. Now I'm going to bring in the Elegant Eggplant. And the flower, if you notice, there's so many different designs here. I really like the dogwood. That one is one of my favorites. But for this card, I'm using the one that almost looks like it's just painted on there. Now, what we're going to do, I've stamped on the dark green, and I'm actually going to pop up 3 of the flowers. But I want to go ahead and stamp just on my inside a couple of the flowers. Same thing on the outer envelope. I do one dark, and then I just keep stamping a few times till they get lighter and lighter. I'm going to put those aside. And now I want 3 of the flowers. And this is just a scratch piece of crumb cake. And I want those dark, so I'm going to sit here and just do 3. And I got that a little too close to the edge, so we're going to stamp a 4th one. Close up my ink pad. I'm going to take the petals punch, petite petals, and I'm just going to punch out my 3 flowers. Now those 3 we're going to put a dimensional on. I like to pop those up. But now before I put my flowers on there, I'm going to stamp my saying. Now the saying that I've decided to use on this one was a thank you. But I want to do the happy birthday. Now you could use the elegant eggplant. It's a dark color. But I really like to use the Memento Tuxedo Black. And I'm going to stamp happy birthday. Now one thing that you may want to make sure, because this is a bumpy, you know, you've got your area in here that's got the mortar, check out your stamp to make sure you don't have any on the edges. If you have it on the edge, if you're not careful, you could end up putting, you know how you'll do the little outline? So that's another reason why I keep a baby wipe. If I see that it's on the edge, I'll just sit here and wipe it off the edge to where if I accidentally rock it, I'm not going to get that image around it. So we've got the happy birthday. This is the soft suede. And you score or fold at 4 1/4. I'm going to take my snail. Make sure I've got the card right side up. Now I'll I'm going to place the flowers on here. You can put as many flowers as you wanted to. And if you want to make them pop just a little bit, you could add a rhinestone or a pearl to them. Here's another tip. On your rhinestones, they're all connected together. If you take your scissors and just snip in between each one, then you're able to pull them off individually and not get the whole string off them. Now I'm just going to put a rhinestone on the 3 that I popped up. So now let's take, and we're going to put the inside. You can stamp whatever saying on the inside. And there you have it. Now you've learned how to mortar brick. I hope you enjoyed this card. So go check out the website and you'll get all the details and all of the supplies used. I hope you enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed showing you and making this card myself. Thank you.